All right, welcome everybody. I'm Lisa Rose. This is Ask Me Anything. It's a webinar. I can probably take my glasses off, off now. And it's a monthly webinar where you get to ask questions about any of the areas that I work in or about my products or services. And I've got a bunch of questions here. I'm really excited to go over them. I'm coming to you from California, so welcome wherever you are in the world. I do advanced questions first. People that have taken the time to send me a question in advance, I answer their questions first, and then I go to additional live questions. I happen to have a lot today. The first question that I have, because I answer them in the order that I get them, is hi Lisa, I wish to ask about my soul purpose in this life and also how I may deepen my meditation practice. So that's two questions. So let's take the first one. I wish to ask about my soul purpose in this life. Well, I didn't get a specific question, but let's just talk for a minute about soul purpose. Everybody has the same soul purpose, believe it or not, and that is to find out what it is that your divine gifts are here as a human being, why you're here. It's your job to find out and discover why are you here, what are your great gifts to share, and the key is to share, right, and get on it. That's it. Everybody has the same purpose. The real question then becomes, what should I be doing? What do I feel like is my great divine gift? That's the real question. And sometimes that word soul purpose, kind of gets thrown around. You can have some guides and some guidance that can help you out with that. I think the best way to answer that question, what are my divine gifts? Why am I here? What should I be looking for in order to be able to express myself best at soul level and be able to have that be a benefit for others, right? We're all connected. We're all here to help each other, right? So I have to discover what it is that I'm here to do so that I can help somebody else and they benefit from my ability of knowing what it is and why I'm here to do something. It isn't always just one thing, right? It isn't always the job, right? And it isn't always one skill. It could be several things, right? So, for example, some women, their purpose for being here might be to be a mother for the benefit of the children that come their way. Some people have another purpose for being here, but they have kids in addition to that. So you see how it works. It could be that their primary soul purpose isn't necessarily the children, but they have the children incorporated in their incarnation, in their life, because they like it, right? That's a little bit different. Other people are here to be able to help people survive terrible accidents. Maybe they're neurosurgeons, or maybe they're emergency room physicians, or they're emergency techs, or they're ambulance drivers, or something like this, okay? But your job is to discover what it is that you're here to share for the benefit of others. So the second part, the second question that Wen has, so this is another question from Wen. How may I deepen my meditation practice? The short answer is consistency. So the more consistent you are with your meditative practice, the deeper it will go. It will come more easily, and then you'll be able to expand on your practice. So if you've got it down where you're meditating fairly regularly, and you're reaping the benefits, the many, many, many benefits of a regular meditation practice, then you can take a look and say, okay, I'm getting the benefits of meditation. How else can I use this practice? Meditation is the key to so many doors in the metaphysical realm, in the religious realm, spiritual realm, even in our daily lives realm. It's the key to so much. So how do you deepen it? Consistency. And then I would take a look at alternative types of practice. For example, you might be doing one-point perspective with your breath. You might be doing one-point perspective with visual objects. Maybe you're someone who can really only get in a meditative state accompanied by the sounds of nature or being in nature. try something else. Try chant, try a Tonglen practice where you're breathing in a problem or problems of others or situations on the planet, and you're breathing out the intention to help with healing, right? By sending your personal energy, that's generated from the love light in your heart space out. You can actually be a participant in that, in other groups. There's groups that do group meditations all over the world for certain kinds of purposes. But there's, it's a huge topic. The great thing about meditation is it is something that you will use all your life, and it can expand, it can change, and it can help you be able to grow in so many other ways besides just being able to, let's say, meditate better. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you for those two questions, Wen. My birthday is June something something, and I was born at 6 p.m. What should I do for a living? And you say a good career. There isn't a name here, but it says CC. I'll just say CC, right? You'll know the rest of your email address. Okay, so this is actually a personal question that the answer isn't going to benefit everybody else. So I would schedule an appointment with me to explore this further. But let me say this. No one and nothing can tell you what you should be doing. That's your job. Okay, there is no, in this realm, there is no should, right? So if you're having an intuitive session with someone and they say you should, then stop it because there is no should. Right? I just talked about this in the other question. Your responsibility as a human connected to universal source energy is to discover, and it is your job to discover that and to use it, and not to be pulled around by the nose by somebody telling what you should do. Okay, that's kind of like living in I'm supposed to do this, I'm supposed to do that, right? So ask the question slightly differently for your inquiry, whether you're asking yourself or you're asking in an intuitive session or you're working with your spirit guides, whatever it might be. Show me the options for working in a career where what it is that I do can benefit the most people and be in alignment with what it is that I have to offer at this point. So you see how that question's different. It leaves it open to wide possibility. And the response that you get from there, right, will be the direction you should go in. Let me tell you a really easy way to do this, okay? It's easy. Put your hand on your heart space, okay? Take a breath in. And just let it out. Do it again. And let it out. Breathe again. Let it out. Focus on yourself. Go in, and focus on yourself. And begin to observe your life. Your childhood, your teenage years, your young adulthood, and try to recall and feel what it was, what the things are that you've done, that you do, that light you up, that bring you instant joy. What is it that you like to do that you forget about the clock when you're doing it? What is it that puts a smile on your face while you're doing it? What is it that you love to do that when you wake up, you can't wait to do it? Maybe you're really good at it naturally, or maybe you would need a little bit of training, but what is it? Okay, that's the answer to your question. And so the answer is here. You have to spend some time with you without that external, what should I be doing? without that external information. Because oftentimes we end up in supposed to. Oh, I'm supposed to do this. I'm supposed to do that. Oh, I should do this. Oh, I should do that. Instead, we don't want to go there. We want to go here. Spend a little time with yourself and write that list. And then you can explore those options and see which of those you can work into a career, right? Rather than a job. Okay, I hope I answered that for you well. Gave you something to go on. Thank you for the question. The next question is, hi Lisa, would you please talk about how to know the difference between your spirit guides or angels sending you a message? So she's talking about spirit guides, those are different things. And our own inner voice or our subconscious mind talking to us. Okay, so what we're really talking about here is how do you know whether or not this is guidance that you are receiving, right, from the spiritual and metaphysical realms, or whether it's just your thinking mind that's in there, right? Okay, so the answer to your question is that they feel different. When you are receiving guidance, the signs and the symbols and the things that happen are usually far more subtle than when the thinking mind and the ego are jumping in with its opinion, right? It's a different vibration. They feel differently. And it's really with practice that you will be able to differentiate between the two. So you just take little baby steps in that direction. You know, you're talking about working with spirit guides, which is different than working with your intuition, right? Your intuition is when you're using your intuitive instrument, which is your human body and all of its six senses that it has, you know, the six sense versions of your physical senses, to be able to receive, interpret, and use the information that is coming your way in the form of vibration, right? So that's a little different. Now, if you want to sit down and you want to work with your spirit guides, or if you want to work with angels, and angels are not exclusive, they're available to everyone. Spirit guides tend to be assigned to you, or you can call on them and they're working, you know, specifically for you in particular context. And you end up creating your own personal language of signs and symbols with them. For example, you might actually hear them speaking to you, right? So you're using the sixth sense of hearing. I'm not going to talk about all the fancy words, right? For that, let's just talk about sixth sense of hearing. Some of you might get it, or you might get it as a vignette or a movie that plays in your third eye. You know, you see it that way. You gather the information. It might totally also be physical. Now, the interesting thing about your intuitive senses and working with your spirit guides is that there is a point where they intersect, because the spirit world knows how you can receive vibration. So they know that they can tap into, because they're energy, right? So they can tap in and send in on that same vibration highway that you're working with your intuition. They can work on that too, but they are separate. So it feels differently. Not all spirit guides have a great positive energy. You know, there are some out there that are heavy duty negative energy that might be trying to inject, you know, a particular perspective or opinion, and there's a heaviness to that one. So you can feel, in addition to which ones are working with you versus your inner voice, and also which ones have your best interest at heart and which ones don't. That is a practice where you want to practice keeping negative energy at bay. I tend to do it in a Reiki field. There's lots of ways that you can do it, but be cognizant of it, right? That you only want the information that is in your highest interest and best good to come through, not any information. This is where training and practice come into play and why they are so important. It's totally possible for you to get a hit of guidance from what you might believe is a spiritual guide, and because it's coming from the spirit world, you will believe it and act on it, and it might not have your best interest as its focal point, right? So you have to be very careful about that as well. Developing the inner voice, we talked about this before, right? Meditation is great. understanding your body as an intuitive instrument and discovering which of your intuitive senses are already up and working for you, because your spirit guides and the angels will tap into those six sensory abilities of yours, so that they know that you're getting it. And then you have to practice it. And I would say practice on small questions first. Really something, as simple as, sometimes I do it in traffic. Should I go right or should I go left? But maybe what is a change that I can make in my current life that will put me closer into alignment with what it is that I need to be doing to fulfill my soul purpose? See, now there's a good question, right? To figure that one out. And then start looking for the signs and symbols. Sometimes they come right away. You can actually have a session with yourself and they come right away. Other times you get them, they sort of dripped out. You might get them, like, for example, you might be trying to decide, where is the best place for me to go on vacation next year, that will give me the experiences that I want and will be just the perfect spot for me to go. And in your mind, you might be saying, oh, I want to go to Italy, or maybe I want to go to Spain, or maybe it's Greece, and you're constantly working, that around. And then you're in traffic at a traffic light and you see a truck that goes by that says, eat Italian cheese. And then you go into a restaurant and they're playing O Solo Mio on the restaurant, sound system. And then you start getting the signs for Italy, right? We call those synchronicities. So pay attention to that sort of thing, the synchronicities that are coming into your life. If you don't have a real strong ability to be able to understand what's coming from your spirit guides or your inner voice, you're going to have to start trying to gather the clues, and then you'll be able to figure it out from the pattern of the clues that come your way. Does that answer your question? I hope that answers your question, Rachel. I know it was a long answer. Okay, next question. Hi, Lisa. What do I need to do to fix my life? I am so stuck. Number one, you are the curator of your own contentment. Every choice that you make going forward is going to create your reality in the future, in the near future and the distant future. You have all the power. You have all the power to get unstuck. You have it. It feels like you're stuck because you're not using your power. The easiest way that I know to get unstuck, regardless of what the situation is, and maybe there's multiple situations, is to, with intention, make a new choice. That will shake up all the energy around you. And then you make another new choice, right? You make another new choice. And as you're making the choices, you'll see things start that are no longer serving you currently will start to fall away. And it makes room, right, for new energy to come in, new possibility to come in, new chances to come in, and for clarity that you do have options and you are not stuck, and take action on them. And that will be enough to shake it up so that possibility is wide open. Then you can start looking for the doors and decide which one you want to go through, all right? Now, if you are in a pattern where you are so comfortable in your pattern, you don't even recognize the pattern, and it's the pattern that's keeping you stuck, right, and not moving forward, you're going to have to spend some time observing yourself and saying, okay, what choices am I making over and over again that are giving me the same result when I'm expecting something or want something else? What is it that I'm not willing to let go of in order to be able to bring myself what it is that I desire? And it's very interesting when you become unstuck and you actually start creating the life that you really want. cast of characters in your life changes because your new vibration, the energy and the frequency that you're vibrating on is starting to bring new people to you that are vibrating at that level for you as well. You know, so that's how it works. It's almost like the law of attraction. It's a match, right? So try some of that and see if you can't get yourself unstuck real quick. Okay, thank you so much for the question. Okay, the next question I have is, oh, this is a long one. Hi, Lisa. I'm trying to understand the interaction with guides and psychics and how that works. For example, I've had more than one reading where the psychic got it very wrong. The last one involved a man I was dating, but that I had some reservations about. The psychic assured me that I just needed to be patient, that I was a light in his life, that he gets me, that he could possibly be the one, etc. And the next day, he dropped me. So, whose guides was the psychic talking to? Mine? If so, I want to fire them. Or was the psychic talking to her guides? Here's the real question. Whose guides should a psychic be talking to? The psychics or the person getting the reading? I just don't buy the free will excuse every time they get it so very, very wrong. I want to ask the psychic to speak to only my guides. Can I do that? And this question comes from Anne. Okay, so Anne, so there's a lot there, right? So I'm not going to spend the time diagnosing somebody else's session with you, okay? They have their own process of how they gather their guidance to answer the questions that you have. But let me say this, to answer your question, whose guides? It's always their guides. It's always their guides. All right, the person who's doing energy work, the person who's doing mediumship, the person who's working with spirit guides, the person who's doing psychic readings, the person who's doing intuitive sessions, and those are all different, has a relationship with a set of guides that have a shorthand with them, right? That's why it doesn't take us 5 hours to do the reading. We're very quick about it. We have a shorthand where that information comes. Now, having said that, when the reading is requested by you, your guides can be invited in. Sometimes your guides will just show up. The guide, depending on the question, the guide could be different. It's not always the same guides that show up. If you're talking about health, there might be guides that show up to deal with health questions. If you're working on a creative project, there might be guides that come in to help with questions and guidance with the creative project, right? So when I'm doing this kind of work, because I'm also a Reiki master, I like to work in the Reiki field, which creates a natural boundary in the field that keeps out anything that I don't want in the field for the inquiry. I'm looking for information that can be used immediately, information that can be practical, information that has the person's highest and best interest at heart, excuse me. Now, having said that, sometimes there are characters that come in that don't have your highest and best interest. There are low-level characters that just want to play. They just want to be able to see the psychic repeat what it is that they're giving them. That's because a good psychic can differentiate between that because the vibration of that feels differently. So I know you're talking about free will here. You say, well, I don't really buy the free will excuse. Well, I have to tell you, every bride that was left at the altar had been subject to somebody's free will that morning, the groom that didn't show up, right? So free will does exist. Right now, something could change. Right now, that could change everything that's coming your way. There's nothing written in stone. You cannot predict. What you can do is you can read the energy, the current energy. You can scan for information. Now, to tell you, sometimes, and it's true, sometimes we just get it wrong. It is really difficult to receive signs and symbols and interpret them and translate them into language and get it right 100% of the time. It's very difficult. So the short answer to your question is, whose guides should they be talking to? And they should be talking to theirs. And if they need more information, they invite your spirit guides to come in, those that have the answer. We don't want all of them showing up. We only want the one that has the answer that you can use and take action on. Let me say one more thing about this, because I see this happen a lot in readings. People are they're trying to gather guidance for themselves. Instead of asking for the guidance for themselves, what they really want to do is they want somebody to read another person that didn't give them their permission to read. They don't ethically, right? Ethically, we don't read people without their permission. Ethically. There are some that do, right? They'll just go out there and you see them run into somebody in a grocery store and say, I've got a message for you, right? That is unethical in our profession, right? So that doesn't mean that it's illegal. Yeah, oftentimes, those are two different things. So oftentimes what's legal isn't ethical and vice versa. But, good psychics have a school of ethics. And it could be that when you were in there, and I don't know because I wasn't with you, she assured me that I just needed to I was dating someone, I had some reservations about this person. If you were asking the psychic to read the other person, rather than giving you guidance in the context of that person being in your life, those are different things, right? The universe knows that the psychic is going into a field without permission, at least when you're working in the Akasha, it definitely is. You can intuitively scan for information in the present, but you can't necessarily read and predict, right? So you will literally get incorrect information if you are trying to interfere with somebody else on a spiritual or energetic level, to dip into and read them without their permission. It's actually a way that the universe makes that so that it doesn't happen. You don't get the accurate information. So the next time that you decide that you want to get some guidance, whether it's intuitive or from spirit guides or mediumship or whatever it might be, you go in with a good question, right? The question always is for you. Question isn't about the other person. Okay, so you always go in for you. Question in this situation would have been, is this person that I am dating, the best person for me to have a relationship with at this point in time? That's a yes or no question. Sometimes no means no, not yet. So you have to be careful about that. You can say, how can I attract the right person into my life at this time? So, that's a different question. Then it could be this guy, it could not be this guy. So I hope that I was able to answer your question for you. When you go in, you're going to be working with that psychic's guides and their ability to gather the signs and symbols and interpret them and deliver the information to you so that you can use it. And they will give it to you as it is available to them in the present, right? And if you make a choice or someone else makes a choice or your neighbor makes a choice and somehow changes the trajectory of what was coming, then it will look like it's not accurate, even though it may have been accurate in that moment. The short answer to your question is it's the psychic's guides, right? If they've got a good relationship with their guides, you get good information if you ask good questions. Okay, let me go on to the next one. That got a little long, sorry about that. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Hi, Lisa. How do I really tap into my intuition And how do I learn to listen to it better? Oh, I love this question because I teach intuition development. It's my signature course. Okay, this is from Marie. Marie, hello. How do you listen to it better? Let's go with that one first. You have to be able to get quiet and be able to listen to your inner voice. And the best way to do that is to learn to properly meditate and to be consistent in your meditation practice so that you can get still quickly. That's number one. Number two is to understand that your body is your intuitive instrument. Your 5 physical senses have a corresponding 6th sense that very much mimics the 5 physical senses, but it does more because it's the 6th sense, right? It works in the intuitive realm. It's an intuitive ability. So what do I mean by that? Well, you can walk into a room and see somebody smoking a cigar and you can smell the smoke and you can see the person's, smoking a cigar and put the two together. Your intuitive sense of smell might be where you walk into an empty room and there is nobody in it and you smell the scent of a cigar. Right? So that would be your intuitive senses are delivering that information to your brain that can recognize it as an experience that it had of smelling smoke previously. All right. So the way that you are able to get to that point is to figure out which of your intuitive senses are already up and running for you. They're already trying to deliver guidance to you, but maybe you're missing it because the signs and the symbols are very subtle in the intuitive realm. Okay, it's not a loud sort of symbol or a ton of brick walls, coming down until you get it. I mean, if it's something that they're trying to give you guidance, they'll give it to you in the ways that are synchronous, right? So you'll get synchronicities to try to get your attention over and over and over again. I would say that a great way to learn how to tap into your intuition is to sign up for my free intuition development mini course. It's called, free intuition mini course. You can get it on my website at trulyliving.net/free. And it'll say mini course. Just click on it, sign up, and you'll instantly, get it in your inbox. I think it's that one's 3 videos. But the very first thing I do in that free mini course to help you develop your intuition is I take you on a guided meditation to discover which of your intuitive senses is already up and running and working for you and delivering guidance. So instantly you will know. And then you'll be able to spend time practice in recognizing the information that is being delivered to you from those particular senses, those 6 senses. Okay? So sign up for that course. I guarantee you will be up and running very quickly. And there's great lessons on there on how to refine your abilities. Thanks so much for the question, Marie. Okay, Tanisha. I've recently been receiving energy work, and in the last year have felt my intuition growing and my sensitivity to energy is really expanding and becoming sensitive. One thing I need to work on is trusting myself, trusting my gut and belief. Thus, I feel as though asking a pendulum questions about relationships or future or hard decisions isn't trusting myself and really relying on something else rather than making that decision from deep inside, that deep inside feeling. Could you expound on this topic? So the question is about pendulums. Okay, Tanisha, pendulums are a tool. It's a rock on a string. It has no power, it has no information, it has no guidance. It's a tool. And the tool is being able so that we can physically have an instrument to be able to confirm what our intuitive bodies are already receiving as a response. But you can use it for more, like for example, you can use your pendulums with charts. You can buy charts, you can create your own charts, depending on the many types of inquiries that you can use with pendulum. So you might be able to spell something out, like what is the name of my spirit guide? You use the pendulum and you need one with a point, right? To point out the letters that show up on the chart in order to be able to spell it out for you. Right? So that's it takes a long time to do that, by the way, but you can gather the information that way. As long as you are accepting that the information that is coming your way is the correct information, and your ego isn't trying to create the answer that you really want. That's where it gets screwed up, right? The ego pirates the ship, kicks your intuitive ability to the curb, and starts trying to forcefully give you the answer, right? That way. Because the pendulum is responding to your energy. That's what it's doing, So if your energy, if you ask a question and your body as your intuitive instrument is receiving a yes, you will see a yes on the pendulum as long as your ego is not residing at the center of the session and your intuition is, your higher self, right? So you might have to practice that part of it. However, in your question to me, you also say that even when you're getting this information, you're having trouble trusting it, right? And so therefore you don't take action on it. And the best way to deal with that is to be open to receive, right? A wide open possibility. The information that you are searching for, if you are open to receiving everything that's possible, you might get a better answer than you ever would have thought of in your own head, ever, right? So you have to be open to that. So that's only part one, right? Part two is trusting it. How do you trust it? By taking action on it. And then you take action on it and you see that, you got the result, or the next opportunity came your way as a result of, taking action on that. And then you trust again, and then you take another baby step, and you trust again, and you take another baby step. And then you begin to trust, and you gain this trust in yourself. Now, sometimes, we're discouraged because we think that we got the answer we were looking for, and then we trusted it and we took action on it, and it turned out that it didn't manifest or materialize in the way that you had wanted it to or expected it to. This is not always a fault of yours, right? Because most of us don't live like hermits in the world, right? We are at the mercy of choices that everybody else is making. Whether you're driving down the street, you hope that guy's going to actually stop at that stop sign and not go through it, Sometimes when you didn't get what it was that you were aiming for, it could be because there is something better coming along, and that particular opportunity is not quite coalesced in a way that it's going to manifest right now. So there might be another decision, another person, another thing. It might just be time. It might be that it needs to be delayed because there's something else that's coming your way that needs to be taken care of before you can be able to manifest, right? So there's reasons that happens. It's not always that you were wrong. This is why when you're working with your intuition, you work with it regularly, and it does work best if you do regular sessions with yourself. But sometimes you're using your intuition on the spur of the moment. Should I go right or should I go left? I have to make this decision right now. Should I not get on this airplane and rebook it, or should I just get on this one right now? And wait for the 2-hour delay. So you can use your intuition in those kinds of ways too. When you're manifesting, we're talking about something a little bit different. You're manifesting is when you have to get very clear about what it is that you want to manifest. And then when things start coming your way, you might have options, and then you can readjust. So you you have something that you want to create, and then it starts coming your way, or maybe it doesn't come your way, right? Then you think of another way to do it, right? Then you try to go down that path and see if that's the way that's going to get you what it is that you want. It could be a matter of timing. It could be a matter that there's something better along the way. It could be a matter that the moment is past and you waited too long, so sometimes that happens too. Okay. Question on intuition. I've had a couple of instances where I had a deep gut feeling about relationships, and then they did not turn out the way that I truly believed that they would. I felt really certain that this was the correct path, and honestly felt as though I was not doing the effort, but things were just coming to me until they did a 180. Why does this happen when you are following your manifestations and feel certain about your intuition, and then the complete opposite happens of what you felt so certain about? I just had this exact same thing happen to me, Tanisha. Exact. Where I had spent almost 2 years trying to manifest something. And everything was all going in that direction beautifully, right up till about a month before I was about to have it all come to fruition. And in a few minutes, it completely was gone. Not from anything that I did, but from an external force that affects me. And what I can say to you is that there are things that might be in play that you are not aware of yet, that would have made that a mistake. And so the thing that you're trying to create, whether it's a relationship or a move or whatever it might be, is simply delayed, right? You want a certain, you're talking about relationships, you want a certain kind of relationship, right? And so you might have gotten close or thought you got close, but then it turned out that it wasn't that. That's information. So you take it doesn't mean that you didn't manifest it. It means you didn't manifest it yet. Right? So it could just be delayed. So in manifesting, when you're going down that path and you think that you're getting it, and then something happens, your ego jumps in and says, what the fuck happened here? I didn't do, I think it was going great, I was doing all the right things, and then it gets ripped off because it actually wasn't in your best interest at that moment in time. And there is something else, a delayed version of it. The version might be different or better. You've heard of it, blessings in disguise, right? But in the manifesting realm, when that happens, give yourself a little time, right, to feel that disappointment and to recover and regroup. And then you take a look and say, okay, I did this, and this went great. I did this and did this. Here it goes. And you look for the spot, because there's going to be a spot there in that trajectory, what you wanted to manifest, where you probably got the ding that there's something else amiss. That is the moment when you say, okay, let me just slow this down and take a look and see, is what I thought I wanted to manifest still what I want? Especially in relationships, because it's at that moment when we're this close, we can taste it, you know, we can taste the commitment, that we are willing to not look and receive the information because we just want what we want, and that's it. And then we end up in a shitty relationship. And that's really, really hard to do. Yeah, but if you take a look at it, right? So you sort of like regroup, okay, where was it that I missed? You might have missed it. You might have got it, but you might have missed it, where you weren't willing to look and see where the information was coming for you, that it wasn't going to be what it is that you were hoping for, that you were expecting. How do you do this in the healthiest of mindsets? I would start again. I would start again and sit down with yourself and have a session with you, Tanisha, and say, what don't I want? That's so important. What don't I want? And make the list. I know at this point in my life, I don't want this. I don't want that. I'm not willing to, you know, go in this direction. I'm willing to do this. Then you do the opposite and say, you know, what do I want? And write it all out and let it sit for a couple of days. And then, you know, do it again and say, okay, what do I really want? What do I really want? What am I willing to do the work for, you know, myself? Because it's here, we create it. It's not out there. It's here that we create it, and then we draw it to us. You create your light, you stand there and it radiates, draws to you that which will be your match, instead of being a moving target. I hope that answers your question. Okay, great. Thanks so much. Thank you so much for sending your questions. I hope they got answered, and I will be doing this again next month. The Ask Me Anything webinar is going to be on December 6th at 4 p.m. This one I had to do at 2 p.m., but next week it'll be December 6th at 4 p.m. You'll get the replay if you are on my e-list, and you can get on my e-list by going to my website and just signing up for one of the freebies. And you get a freebie too. Okay, thanks for being here, and I will see you all again soon. Bye for now.